Now I want to open it up to Representative Giraldo and Senator Acosta if there's any questions from reporters here to answer.
I do have a question about the ending the ICE contracts. Will that, if you step to the mic too, I think they'll need that. But when we actually end the ICE contracts, will that affect existing contracts in any way, or will they still be allowed to renew and stuff like that? How would that work?
So, the American government is set up to enforce contracts above all else. It's classic kind of Western liberalism. What I would argue is our bills make it so that you can't enter into future contracts.
Okay.
Current contracts must be allowed to live their lives.
Do you know how long the current contract lasts through with ICE and Wyatt?
I do not know off the top of my head, but we can get that.
Do you know if the contracts currently enforced provide for their own renewal?
I don't actually. That's a good question.
And do you know of any other contracts in the state where this would be in effect? I know of the ICE contract here, but I'm not sure what other contracts ICE might have with other facilities or law enforcement agencies in the state.
I don't know that we have any right now.
Okay.
Since Wyatt is a quasi-public contract, how would that affect the public part of that? It's affecting the private part. What about the public part?
Well, the bill itself, and you can look at the language online now, makes it so that no public entity can enter into contract with ICE either. So that includes our municipal police forces and our state police forces.
What would be the effect on Central Falls, financially and otherwise, of ending these relationships?
Probably have a positive benefit, as the city hasn't received any funds from the Wyatt in the past several years. So I can't see how the city would be hurt by that.
Moreover, part of the mistake in the way that the contract is structured is that this land is technically ours.
Right.
What's built on it is private, but the land itself is public. So we could stand to get our land back and either make it productive or sell it and turn it into a tax-producing, privately owned plot.
Representative, are you suggesting that the Wyatt is in arrears to the city?
Well, they have not provided. I would say that. Yeah, yes, that there was an agreement set up early on, and there haven't been any financial contributions from the Wyatt to the city of Central Falls, and so I say absolutely the city is owed money by the Wyatt.
Yeah, and it's important to note that the agreement was structured such that bond holders they get deference over any profits that come out. So they need to be paid first. And so that means we're always last. We have been last for quite a while.
As well as reserves.
What do you think of the proposal that the Wyatt Board Chairman Jim Lombardi had proposed of trying to buy out the bondholders, basically float a bond with some public entity to have enough money to buy them out and give you more leeway in what you can do here?
Frankly, I would respect their process in trying to do that. But as I mentioned in my own remarks, this is a bigger problem in American society. And what this package is trying to do is send a clear message that the state of Rhode Island, outside of the example or the case of the Wyatt, is not on board with the private profit of prisons. And so, we would stand by and be excited to see what comes of that board. But we also are trying to send a clear message that we don't believe in the criminalization of immigration, and that we don't believe in private prisons as a solution to central poverty.
So bills on both sides have co-sponsors. But what have you heard from House and Senate leadership about these bills? Have you presented them to them or talked to them about this?
Well, they haven't yet been heard in committee, so I think we still have a ways to go. Not much yet, but...
Do you know what committees they'll be heard in?
Judiciary.
Judiciary.
So on the Senate side, they're in judiciary. All four. I don't know about the rep.
One is in state government. The other, I believe, are in corporations.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Yep.
How best can people who believe in these bills help?
Come out and testify. Lend your voice. You know, my guess is that some of the organizations that have been supporting us and that have been partnering with us will be planning future actions, and so
Yeah.
become part of that. But I think it's important that everybody use their voice, as the former city council person Gonzalez mentioned. This is an issue that we have been complicit with for far too long. And I want to make sure that we all own up to our part in this, myself included, my parents, the folks who in the 80s and 90s felt like crime was running rampant and thought that putting people in jail was going to be the solution. All of those folks need to acknowledge now that we were wrong and start speaking publicly and saying that we don't believe that this is a profit motive for solving a poverty problem.
When was the last time there was a payment made to the city from Wyatt?
There was a small payment made a few years ago when under Mayor Diosa, when there was some work on a forbearance agreement.
I would say about 2015 maybe?
I think it was 2015. It was probably about 200,000, which the city put towards road improvement. But since then, prior to that and after that, there have been no payments.
Do you know approximately what the facility cost the city in terms of
Foregone tax earnings?
foregone taxes, police and fire protection, road infrastructure, whatever it's measured in?
I don't, to be honest with you. My guess is, and this would be speculative on my part, but you know, to Stephanie's point about the city being in a tough financial bind in the 90s, had we done nothing with the land and just let it sit and sold it in the year 2000, we probably would have made more money off of it in the long run than going the route that we did in converting it into this quasi-public, private, non-tax producing entity.
I think we have time for one more question in respect to their time. Does anyone have one last question?
Well, I'll ask. One of the pitches back in the 90s for this facility was it would provide jobs to the people in Central Falls. Do you know if that's happened or whether the people employed here generally don't come from Central Falls?
I think at best it's marginal. It would be single-digit percentage points. I've had the pleasure of actually speaking to a member of the correctional staff, and I'll say that they are overworked, underpaid. I think that there are better jobs that are available to them, and you know, when people talk about jobs, I would say, hey, look, you know, we have an ACI, we have a publicly funded facility that has a strong union that argues for good labor conditions. I think part of the problem is we've had such an adversarial relationship that their union has always had to be on the defensive and actually hasn't had time to focus on developing safe and good working conditions for the people that are there now. And so, despite the fact that overwhelming majority of them are not CF residents, I do think that there are people who deserve good jobs, and I don't think this is the environment where they have that.
Let me follow up on that. Do you know of any efforts to unionize at Wyatt?
They have a union. It's just, like I said, not currently productive towards their working conditions.
Well, thank you very much to the both of you for introducing this legislation and for all of the speakers today.
Well, thank you all for coming out and covering it. We appreciate it.
Much appreciated. Thank you guys.
Thank you all.